Remove the 6 screws that will give you access to the cold plate connections. Here's the CO2 connection, cold plate connection, 5, 4, 6, 8. 8 is high fructose corn syrup. An example would be Hawaiian Punch. 3, 7, 2, your plain water, your number 1 connection, and both of your carb waters for your recert coming out of the back room. The 2 recert lines can be cut to length in order to place the recert loop in. Install the Oetikers. Install the recert turnaround. Crimp the Oetikers onto the turnaround securely. Install the recert lines and crimp the Oetikers to the turnaround securely. This is a 1/2 inch water line, 80 psi. Make sure there's a from 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter to the water line going to the unit. Install a shutoff previous to the line being connected to the unit. Cut the water line from the cold plate. Install the Oetiker. Place the line onto the shutoff and crimp the Oetiker securely. After connecting the Oetikers, do not insulate at this time until you've turned on the unit and have checked for leaks. The CO2 connection is a 1/4 inch NPT to a 3/8 thread. Make sure you use the white washer, install it into the fitting, and hand thread it onto the CO2 fitting and finish with a small crescent wrench. The CO2 line should have a 3/8 shutoff prior to installation to the unit. Install the line with the Oetiker. Crimp the Oetiker securely. Turn on the water line. Turn on the recert loop. And now you will check for leaks at all connections. Turn on the syrup lines and check for leaks also. At this point, you will fully insulate the connection to the turnaround and the recert loop using the tape in the picture on the bottom left-hand corner. Reinstall the cold plate cover and start the screws by hand. And then finish the install with a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver. Install the drain line at this time with the provided clamp and a 5/16 nut driver or socket. Do not cut to length at this time. To remove the conveyor assembly and prep for install, this can be done at any time previous to the placement of the unit. Remove the conveyor cover with the 3 finger tight screws. Remove the conveyor assembly. Remember, the conveyor drive is on the bottom left-hand side. Remove the cup rest. Remember, the locator spring is on the back left-hand side. Open the screen door to access the turret door latch. Pull on the knurled knob in order to open the door manually. At this time, we will be removing the turret. Use a pair of small pliers to remove the clip. While supporting the bottom of the turret, push the pin out and let the turret fall and pull it out of the unit. The pin has a shoulder on one side so that it will only go in one way through the turret shaft and the motor shaft. For safekeeping, reinstall the pin and the clip. Next, remove the access panel. Use the handle and your hand on the bottom to push up and remove. Remove the nozzle, turn to the left, and it will gently come down. Next, pull gently down on the diffuser. Remove the cup lid holder. This will give you access to the 4 screws in which to remove prior to removing the splash panel. Remove the 4 stainless steel screws. The 2 on the left go into plastic standoff. They are different screws. Pull forward and down in order to remove. The 2 slots underneath the screen show the access for the hooks for this piece. To remove the splash panel, there are 5 screws, 2 on the right hand side, 1 accessible by lifting the grabber assembly, and 2 on the left, top and bottom. Remove the 2 right hand screws with a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Remove the left hand side. Raise the lifter assembly. You could use a cup at this time in which to hold it up in order to access the 5th screw. Raise the lifter assembly. While holding the lifter assembly up, remove the splash panel from the bottom to start. Grab the top and pull forward and out. This gives you access to all of the valves, the ice chute. At this point, you see the CO2 regulator and the CO2 shutoff. It is currently at 0. Once the CO2 is turned on, it should read somewhere between 52 and 55 psi. On the back of the unit, you can now plug in the power cord and make sure that the store has a 120 volt, 15 amp dedicated circuit. Next, plug in the Cat 5 Ethernet cable. Make sure it's secured once plugged in. You can now place the unit with the clearances shown on the screen. 2 inches on the back wall and 1 inch everywhere else except for the top, depending on the ice maker size. After placing the unit and cutting the drain to length, pour ice into the ice bin in order to get the cold plate to cool down quicker prior to ratioing the valves. The height of the ice should be approximately 3/4 full of the ice bin. You can now go back to the drain after the unit's been placed and cut it to length. Place the line inside the drain, and now the unit can be turned on. The start sequence, as shown on the screen, will take up to a minute. Once the screen came on and everything is loaded, you should see that it's going through checking for COM ports and that it can access everything that's been plugged into it. Green flash on the screen is good. When the unit first comes on, it will prompt a cleaning process. You can dismiss this process in order to move forward. The cleaning alarm will continue to flash until it has been set and gone through at least one time. Go to manual mode, use the page button, the technician, code is 9876, enter, unit setup, ice dispense calibration. Do not select any of the sizes or ice type. Leave the timer where it's at. Press dispense 3 to 4 times in order to agitate the unit and place ice on the cold plate, previous to purging or ratioing the valves. Set date and time. Enter the current time and date. Use the back arrow. Go back to System Options, Cleaning and Sanitize System Options, Clean and Sanitize Setup. This will let you choose the times for the store for daily, weekly, and monthly cleanings. The time will depend on if it's a 24-hour store or not and what the preference is by the manager. The date will be set 24 hours from the day of install. If it was the 16th, you would set it to the 17th. for daily clean. Press save, then hit yes, move on to weekly clean, and do the same thing. If the daily is set at 3 a.m., set the weekly clean to 3 a.m., and then the date will be 1 week out from the date of install. Hit save, hit yes, and now you'll move on to monthly clean. Same here, it will be at the same time, 3 a.m. Depending if you have the optional wand in order to do the monthly clean, you will check or uncheck the box. This date will be 1 month from the date of install. Hit the save button, hit yes. Unit setup. Select the brand mapping. This is where you will set up brands 1 through 4 and 5 through 8 according to how you've hooked it up on the cold plate connections. Coke is number 1, Diet Coke would be number 2, Dr. Pepper would be number 3. If that was Sprite, you would select it, and then you would use the cursor on the right hand side to find Sprite. Select Sprite, hit the save button, hit yes, and then verify on the right hand side that that did change. You would do the same thing if Diet Dr. Pepper was Dr. Pepper. You would select the Dr. Pepper. You'd move the cursor on the right hand side to find Dr. Pepper. Select Dr. Pepper, hit save, hit yes, and make sure that the change has happened again on the right hand screen. Continue on the valve brands 5 through 8 until they are all correct according to your cold plate connections. You now have to reinstall the nozzle and diffuser in order to purge the plain water and all the brands. The green is the high side for carb water 1, blue is low side for carb water 2, green again is the high side for plain water 1, and blue is the low side for plain water 2. We'll go into unit setup, syrup valve purging. You'll purge Coke and then the rest of the brands the same way. Press Coke until all of the air is purged out of the line and you have a nice continue flowing stream. Shut it off. Next will be Diet Coke. Press and then purge it until all of the air is out of the line again. When it's complete, just shut it off and then continue on for valves 3 through 8 until all of the air is purged out of the line for each individual brand. Go back. Next, select water valve purging. We'll start with carbonated water 1. Purge all the air out of the line. This may take a minute or two. Once it's finished, shut off. Go to carb water number 2 and do the same thing. Purge all the air out of the line. Next, we'll move on to plain water number 1. Shut off plain water number 1. Select plain water number 2 and purge that line. When finished, shut off plain water 2. And now you'll go back and you will activate both valves for carbonated water. Let them run, and then you'll shut them off individually. Do the same thing for plain water. Activate both valves, and then you'll shut off plain water 1 and 2 individually also. Next is beverage dispense calibration. You'll start with carbonated water 1, and you'll do a 4-second pour. This is just to check to see what the level is currently set at. We are looking for 9 ounces. You'll tap 3 times, and you can see it's less than 9 ounces. You make an adjustment just on carb water 1. It would be the green valve. You will screw it in to increase and out to decrease. Next, you'll do a 4-second pour just to exercise the valve. The second one you will capture. We're still looking for 9. 9 ounces looks good. Once that's complete, you go to carb water 1 and 2. And we'll do another 4-second pour. You'll tap 3 times. We're looking for a total of 12 ounces. We're looking for 12 ounces. It looks a little bit low, so we'll use carb water 2 for the fine adjustment. And you will screw in to increase and out to decrease. We'll then take another pour, 4-second pour, tap 3 times, look for 12 ounces, plus or minus 1 window, and now that it's at 12 ounces, you're done with carb water. Next will be plain water. You'll select plain water 1 to start. We'll hit the 4-second pour, and we're looking for 9 ounces here also. You can see it's a little bit low, so we will use plain water 1, which is the high side. We will screw it in to increase. Do another 4-second pour to exercise the valve. We'll capture the second one, looking for 9 ounces. And now we can see we're at 9. Now we can move on to plain water 1 and 2. We're looking for an overall dispense of 12 ounces. We'll select the 4-second pour. We'll capture the water. Look for 12 ounces of water. We're just under 12 ounces of water, so we will adjust plain water 2, which is the fine adjustment. You'll screw in to increase. We'll run a 4-second pour again just to exercise the valve. We'll capture the water. Looking for 12 ounces. It's plus or minus the 1 window. And plain water is now finished. Once both carbonated and plain water are finished, you will now enter the actual water volume. Press update actual water volume, enter 1200 for 12, press enter, press save, and then you have to update the beverage dispense time. Press save again. Now we'll do carbonated water 1 and 2, update the actual water volume, enter 12, 1200, enter, press save again, and then update the beverage dispense time, and press to save. Now you are complete. The syrup ratio, once we select the brand, it will automatically tell you the ratio. In this case, Coca-Cola is 1 to 4.75. You'll use your ratio cup, find the 4.75 to 1 column. You hold it underneath the nozzle and press the 4-second dispense. We're looking to match this with the 12 ounces of carb water. It should be at 12 ounces, so we know it's low by looking across to the column. Locate syrup valve 1. The diagram below the valves says syrup valve 1 is the top valve, and they are also black for all syrups. That is S1. You You will screw it in to increase. You will press the 4-second pour to exercise the valve once. We will pour it again and then capture the second pour. When the syrup is close to what you think it would be 12-ounce carb water, you'll pour the carb water with the syrup still in the 4.75 cylinder. You'll tap it 3 times and look across to see that they're within the same window or as close as possible. Once you've reached that level, the Coke is complete. You'll now move on to Diet Coke. You can see Diet Coke has a ratio of 5.25 to 1. You will find the 5.25 to 1 column on the ratio cup. That's a smaller port now. You will hold it underneath the nozzle, press the 4-second pour, and check the current level. This should be equal to 12 ounces of carb water, so we'll look for S2 underneath the nozzles. We know that it's the top one, so we will now screw it in to increase. We exercise the valve once, and then we capture the second pour. If it looks close to the 12 ounces we should get on carb water, we will pour carb water. So both the syrup and the carb water should be equal in height or within one window. You'll tap 3 times and take a look, plus or minus 1 window. If they're equal, the Diet Coke is finished and you can move on to the other brands. To adjust the ice portions, we'll start with extra small, regular ice. Most of the times have already been preset and will be very close to what is already needed. To check them, you just press dispense and you can dispense it into the extra small cup. The first line nearest the bottom of the cup is the regular portion. You can also use a scale and use the weight of the ice to find out if it's correct or not. You'll then move on to light ice, extra ice, and ice only, which is the T portion. As you can see, the time gets longer. Once each portion is correct, you'll hit the save button, and then you can move on to the next portion, and then hit the save button again. Continue on for small, medium, and large, and make sure to save after every dispense. Install the access panel door, push the panel up, reinstall the turret temporarily, put the pin in, remember that one side is bigger than the other. If you have to rotate the turret to line up with the hole to put the clip in, make sure it's facing downward. Load the cups from the top into the bottom. Do not load the cups any higher than the top of the turret cover. Install the stainless steel cup rest. The cup locator spring is in the back left-hand corner. Next, reinstall the conveyor. Remember that the drive side is on the left-hand side. Install the cover. Tighten the thumb screws. Semi-automatically test drinks to check fill heights, whether it's carb water or plain water. What you're looking for are fill heights and foam heights. If they are not correct, whether they're high or too low, you would go into the page, Technician Mode, 9876, enter, Unit Setup, Beverage Dispense Calibration. For carbonated drinks, select Carb 1 and 2. The number of 12 would be increased in order to lower the drink height, or it would be decreased to increase the drink height. For plain water drinks, it would be the same. Update actual water volume, and you would put in a lower volume, which will increase the actual fill height. You have to save it, and then update the beverage dispense time and save it again. You'll continue to retest until the fill heights are proper. If top off is needed, you would select the page, Technician, 9876, enter, Unit Setup, Dispense Time Setup, and for example, if the large Cokes were overflowing, you would select large Coke, regular ice, and then edit the top off delay or the top off percentage using plus or minus to raise or lower each one. Hit the save button, exit out, and then make another drink. Okay. To verify the cup mapping, select Cup Refill, select Medium, wait for the turret door to open, and make sure that the medium-sized cups are facing you. Close the turret door and do this process again. Back, cup refill, small, wait for the turret door to open, and make sure the smalls are facing you. If this process is not correct, you can go in and check the mapping by hitting Page, Technician Mode, 9876, enter, Unit Setup, map cup types to tubes, and you can verify tubes 1 through 6 would be the same as what's on the turret. Extra small, plastic, and small, make sure the order is proper. If you want to change any of the plastic tubes to a medium, you would select the tube you want to change, move the cursor to medium, hit medium, it automatically backfills the spot, and then hit save. Many of the tubes are interchangeable, and you can refer to the installation manual to give you the different tubes that are compatible. Once the fill heights have been checked and adjusted if needed, have the store order all the drink sizes and brands through the POS system to the ABS. Once the fill heights have been verified and everything is good, you will remove the conveyor assembly, remove the stainless steel cup rest, remove the nozzle and the diffuser in order to put the splash panel back in. You'll open up the turret door manually at this time. You can remove some of the cups in order to get the turret pin and clip out. Support it with your bottom hand, pull the pin, pull the turret out. The pin has a shoulder on one side. For safekeeping, reinstall the pin and the clip. Place the splash panel in, starting at the bottom. Push the splash panel underneath the lifter assembly and drop the lifter assembly once the splash panel is in place. There are 5 screws to be placed back in. 2 on the right, 1 behind the lifter assembly, and 2 on the left-hand side. Start the screws by hand whenever possible and use a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver. You can use a large cup to hold the lifter assembly in the up position in order to start the screw. Install the top left and finish with the number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Install the bottom left screw. Next, install the turret assembly with the shoulder bolt. Put the clip in. Make sure it's facing downward. Install the diffuser. Install the nozzle. Turn to the right to lock in place. Install the stainless steel cup rest with the cup locator spring in the back left-hand side. Install the conveyor. Remember, the conveyor motor drive is on the left. Place the cover on. Tighten the thumb screws. Once the install is complete, use the USB drive supplied with the unit. Install it into the back of the screen. To back up the unit, select the page button, Technician Mode, 9876, enter, Diagnostics, save log files to USB stick. You can see the USB stick is now recognized. Always select Delete Log Files on Save and press the Save Log Files to USB stick. This should not take more than about 10 seconds. Go back to Home and remove the USB drive from the back of the unit and place inside for safekeeping. This will be used in case of any loss of software or recipe data from the unit.